Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and today we are reviewing Mutant Football League.
Yes, the much anticipated spiritual successor to Mutant League Football. Does this game live up to its namesake? We'll find out.
And thank you, Todd, for sending this to us.
Yes, thank you, Todd, SnarCast. Check the links below to his stuff. Thank you for donating this to the page.
Once again, if you ever want to donate, send it to me, because this is why it took so damn long.
Almost 2 years.
Think about it.
Oops. Originally released to Windows in 2017, this was developed and published by Digital Dreams Entertainment. This is actually the result of 2 Kickstarters. The first one actually failed to meet its goal, and then the second one actually did meet its goal after reducing the cost by a lot. But they decided to go with a simpler approach to get the game out there, and then they just kind of added on more to it as it got more successful. And lucky for us, it pretty much took off, as it later got ported to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. As we said before, this is the spiritual successor to Mutant League Football, which, if you don't know, it's the 1993 EA classic that takes the old Madden engine and just throws a bunch of traps, kills, and just a whole lot of 90s tune to it. And really, that spirit carries over into this game. Since its release, the game's been supported with a ton of DLC, including dynasty modes, new character models, new play types, all that kind of crap. So let's just dig in and see if this scratches that old itch that we've had for over 20 years.
Jim, that's an STD. That's not a game.
Uh-oh.
The graphics. I guess the fairest comparison to modern-day football games would be all the standard Madden games. And obviously, this goes for a completely different look. No, it's not hyper-realistic, but it still looks pretty damn good. Similar to the original Mutant League Football, your teams are composed of all types of different mutants, which can include skeletons, orcs, robots, mutant humans, demons, werewolves, aliens. So you get all the different kind of styles that you would expect from this game, but the arenas themselves, they all look different. Some are cold weather, some look like hell. We really appreciate the amount of detail in all that. And when you get these close-up interviews after certain plays, I think the players look pretty damn good. Of course, it's not perfect, and we know the current-gen consoles are capable of much, much more, but we can appreciate this game was still going for an arcade style. We really like all the special moves because the whole screen changes and everything looks really well done. However, we still think they could have went a little step further. So, when it comes to scores, we both gave it 7s. And when it comes to beer, I'm only going to add 1 because although the game could have done a lot more, we still appreciate that it kept it very simple and arcadey, and I guess the graphics are a good representation of that.
The sound. Overall, it gets the job done. I will say, the shining part of this is the commentators, because they are actually legitimately funny. It's weird to think back to the old days of Mutant League Football and to hear actual curse words being said left and right in games, but I don't know, I'm a kid at heart, so it makes me giggle.
Would you say they're better than most WWE announcers? Ho-ho!
I mean, that's a given. They actually recorded a ton of dialogue for this game, which is good. But you will eventually hit that wall where you've heard every line that they have again and again and again. Which is, I mean, it's kind of to be expected, so by maybe your 10th game, you've heard basically everything there's to hear in the game as far as commentary. Also, the different player characters, depending on race, can either speak fully or they have, the throwback with some of the gibberish there. But it's a nice little touch they have in there, and it gives a little personality to all the different races that are within the game. The music in the game, it's fine. Nothing special, but it's perfect background noise for a football game. Gives you that big arena kind of sound, and you do have all the good sound effects of the explosions and the fire and the lightning, and just the gore and the blood and the squishiness. So, overall, the sound, it does the job, but it does it pretty well. It gives you everything you need without being overbearing. So when it comes to score, we both gave it 7s. Definitely above average here. When it comes to beer, I'm going to give it 2 beers. 1 happy beer for the great color commentary, and 1 disappointed beer for the lack of varied sound.
The control. As I mentioned earlier, if you ever played Blitz, then you know exactly what to expect from this game. because it tries to stick to the old arcadey style of the original games. You know that you have passing and running routes, but nothing too complicated. It's not like current Madden games where you have a million plays available to you. You do, however, have a lot of these special plays, and Jim will get more into that in the gameplay. But this goes into control because we really felt like they could have mapped out the buttons a little better. Too many of the buttons are shared between switching the players or going shotgun, or using your special or running faster. It's just, we had some issues, and I will be honest, we might have had a handful of beers prior to playing this game, especially when I played with Jim, but it still just felt like it was a little bit off, and it took a little bit too much getting used to. I'm sure if you went through the entire season mode and you played it a whole bunch like Jim did, then you'll get used to it, and it's no big deal. I will say the control never actually stopped me from having fun with this game, but especially the running plays all felt sluggish. Like I felt like you needed that special move to run faster or break tackles in order to even feel reminiscent of even the old arcade games. I can't quite describe it that well. It's one of these games that I hate to say, but you're going to have to pick up and play to understand what I mean. So, when it comes to scores, I gave it a 7, Jim gave it an 8. Jim had a lot more time with it. He went through a whole season. Me, I played it for a couple hours with Jim, well, after drinking and playing a whole bunch of other shitty games. So when it comes to beer, I'm only going to add 1. I wish they would have mapped the buttons out a little bit more because you have so many options with this game, and I don't want to see any buttons being reused.
The gameplay. So, at its core, this is a football game. You do running plays, you do passing plays, you get interceptions, you have fumbles, blah, 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 blah. Most points wins. What's the gimmick? Well, it's pretty obvious. It's the gore and it's all the violence. So, all the maps, like we said, have different kind of pitfalls to them, some mines, all kinds of things that just try and make you kill the player. Hell, even throwing back to the old Blitz days, after you tackle a player, you can just keep doing elbow drops on them, kicking and punching them. You can actually kill players just right on the field right there after a certain amount of time. Every player on the field has a health bar pretty much, so the more damage they take, you'll be seeing injury reports after every play once you get a couple plays into the game. There'll be dead players, and it can actually be part of the strategy of the game because maybe you're going against the Patriots and you want to kill the version of Tom Brady. Well, if you kill him early on, you're already giving yourself a bit of an advantage, so sometimes it's worth taking those penalties for excessive violence and unnecessary roughness to take out some of the major players on each team. Another huge gimmick of the game are the dirty tricks. So this can be from bribing a ref, killing a ref who's been bribed to stop all the bribery going on. You can whip out a chainsaw and start slicing through everything when you're a running back. You can have hot potato, where you throw the ball and whoever it lands into, it can explode on you. And that's actually really cool. But it can also bite you in the ass, as it did for me before, because you can do a hot potato, get a really clutch interception, then you kill your own player, it goes back to the guy you tried to kill, and they run in for a touchdown. So there's always that kind of risk-reward, but it's just a goofy, fun style of game, and it just takes it in such a different direction than any normal football game that if you're not a true fan of football, you can still have fun with it. During halftime, you actually get a little mini game where you're a player running around trying to kill a swarm after swarm of referees coming at you, and you're trying to survive for a set amount of time. Like we said before, if you're not a fan of the older Madden games or the old Blitz games and you're looking for more simulation, this probably won't be for you. But it has that really nostalgic feel, but it feels so familiar, but like it works in this day and age too. So if it had a biggest downfall, it's probably in the thing that makes it the most fun, and that's in the simplicity of it. Because, we'll be honest here, the gimmick can kind of wear off after a little while, so it's not a game you're going to be spending weeks on at a time, but it is a perfect pick-up-and-play kind of game. When it comes to scores, Brian gave it an 8 and I gave it a 7. It's a perfect throwback, and when it comes to beer, I'm just going to give it 1 beer for just being so good at capturing that old familiar feeling.
The Originality. Oh, shit. So this is the only area where Jim and I disagree the most, and this also happens to be my lowest score to date for Originality. This is essentially a remake to Mutant League Football. It plays similar to Blitz and some of the engines you've already seen, and it doesn't really offer anything new. The commentary, the crazy gibberish, all the crazy kills you can do. technically it's all stuff we've kind of seen. So I couldn't give this game anything else but a 1. Jim, he gave this game a 3. I have no friggin' idea why.
Look, Bri, for old people like us, and who grew up with the original games,
Speak for yourself.
for people like me, who grew up with the original games, of course there's nothing new here. It's just a prettier version of the old games. But, say you're a newer player, say you're a kid in like your 20s, you've never really played a game like this. Maybe you played Blitz when you were like 4. So at this point, there's nothing really like it out there.
You could have played Blood Bowl.
No one played Blood Bowl, Brian.
I have Blood Bowl.
You didn't play Blood Bowl, and you have it.
I have it, and I played it, and I sucked at it, and I wish I had Mutant Football League.
Well,
But I still had it.
so that's my reasoning.
So, honestly, as you can tell, we struggled. We tried to find reasons that this was original. It's just not there. Doesn't mean it's a bad game. But when it comes to beer, I'm going to add 2. Both go to Jim for his terrible reasoning.
What? Replayability. There is an absolute ton of it here. You have the Dynasty mode. You have season modes. You have local multiplayer. You have online multiplayer. And one of the biggest things in this game's favor is from season to season, they have been updating the rosters. So it's not like goddamn Madden, where if you want to play with the most common roster, you have to buy the newest version of the game. Not here. So with the continual support of the game, all the different game modes, we couldn't help but just give it 9s. And when it comes to beer, you don't need any.
So overall, as we said, there are a lot of things to like about this game, but it's just basically above average.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If you're a person who really has a lot of nostalgia for the old school Maddens of like the early Genesis years, this game is right up your alley. So maybe for the more simulation-y Madden lovers of the world out there in this day and age, you might not have a lot to do with this game. But for people like us, it's definitely fun.
Yeah, I was always a fan of the Blitz games, and this feels more like that to me, with a little bit of the horror theme and what you expect from Mutant League Football. You know, you have basically all the traps, you have all the fun that can be had, but I will say, after about 3 or 4 games, the tricks kind of run their course, and you kind of get over them. Still, it's a fun pick up and play. If you can get it pretty cheap, I'd say it's pretty much worth it.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, if you find it for cheap digitally, go get that. If you want the whole complete collection with all the DLC, there's the Dynasty Edition out there now physically. It's like $30 new. So no matter what, you're not going to be spending a ton of money on this game. And truth be told, this is the only football game I'm buying this generation. I only typically buy one football game a generation anyway, so this scratches that itch for me.
Yeah. So when it comes to scores, we both gave it 7s. As we just said, it is above average. It's clearly just not perfect.
It's fun, it's simple, but it's at the end of the day, it's fun.
So when we combined all of our scores, it rounds out to a 7.1. Pretty much in line with how we feel about the game, and about as fair as you can get. Anyone who shits too much on this game can't appreciate the humor and the arcadiness of it. And anyone that says it's much better probably just has a whole lot more nostalgia tied to those old style football games. So,
yeah, pretty much.
With that, once again, Todd, we really appreciate you sending this to us. And until next time, guys, cheers.
Cheers.
When it comes to beer pairing, I decided to go with the Pipeworks Brewing Company's Lizard King. One look at this can and you immediately associate this game with it. You have a lizard battling a skeleton, just like you're going to see on the field, but this is one world-class beer. Coming in at 6%, this American Pale Ale offers you a ton of flavor and is ridiculously drinkable, so you can put a few of these back while you're going through the season mode. But remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly. As always, guys, thanks for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, or better yet, why not subscribe? Till next time, guys, cheers.